Hello and welcome to exercise 7 of chapter 4, Callback props. This exercise is very similar that in the previous exercise, but instead of using context API we will use callback props. This is like the pre-SK5 create event dispatcher. The objective here is to demonstrate how to manage state communication from child to parent using callback props. Callback props enable direct and explicit communication between components, offering a structured alternative to context API for managing data flow, particularly in simpler or isolated parent-child relationships. And what you will learn in this exercise includes how to use callback props to pass data from child to parent components, the advantages of explicit communication over context API in specific scenarios, how to handle input events and safely call parent-defined functions, the limitations of callback props, such as prop drilling, and when context API might be more appropriate. Okay, let's see this in action. You should have copied the 3 files to the chapter 4 folder and added x7_callback to the exercise list.json file. Open chapter 4 exercises and click the blue arrow next to 4_7 callback props, or just follow along with the video. Okay, so you have a very similar layout to the previous exercise with parent, child, grandchild sections. Type "Hi Mum" in the child component input and press enter. You immediately see that data in the parent section. Now click the append data and you see "Hi Mum" appended by grandchild. Type "Hi Dad" in the child component and press enter. The data from child in the parent component show "Hi Dad." And that's all there is to this demo. This shows that data entered in the child is available in the parent and data selected in the grandchild is also available in the parent. But this is more about data flow than state management, as callback props allow you to send data or trigger actions in the parent. Let's look at the code. Open parent component x7_callback.svelte. We import the child component and set a signal for shared data and then set up a function update shared data. The main points here are the signal shared data and that the function update shared data is passed as a prop to the child. The content of the update function depends on your requirement, so this is not the focus here, but rather the fact that whatever this function does, this can be utilized in any nested component once it is passed as a prop to that component. Okay, so for this demo, I wanted the child component input to be updated in the parent, but once changed that would clear the data in the parent. And for the grandchild, the data from here would be appended to whatever was in the child. So, to achieve this I used an object with a data value and a second parameter, clear before update, to tell the function who to handle the received data. I just want to make the point that the detail of this isn't relevant to the point here, which is the process of passing this function to the child so the child can call it with whatever data payload is required. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now in the markup you can see we call the child component with a prop on update equals update shared data. This allows the child to call function update shared data in this parent component, updating the data in this component scope. Next, open up the child component x7_childup.svelte. We import the grandchild component and we receive the prop on update. Now if you scroll past the function for a minute, as we will come back to this, we see in the markup that we have an input for the text with an onChange event, which calls the function we just scrolled past, with arguments event and true. Now, back to the update parent data function. So, we call this function with event and true. That true is for the clear before update, which, if not passed, defaults to false, but in this case will be true. As a precaution and for robustness, we check that the onUpdate is a function. It should be. Just making sure. To avoid any errors that crash. Then we call the onUpdate function with an object consisting of the value and the clear before update, true. So, this calls the function in the parent and that function then updates the data in the parent as defined in that function. And at the end of the markup, we call the grandchild component with the onUpdate prop. We don't need to respecify onUpdate equals update shared data, as we are passing the same prop received onto the grandchild. And lastly, open the grandchild component x7_grandchildup.svelte. Again, receive the prop for the parent function. We have the button which calls the function append data. And that function calls the parent, now grandparent, function on update with an object consisting of the value shown and now with clear before update set as false. Now, don't get distracted by the fact that I am using an object here. It could be any data type as suitable to your requirement. The point here is you are passing a function down the chain, and that function can have a data payload of whatever you require it to be, so that when the function is called in the parent, it updates whatever it needs to. Note that callback props are useful when you need to run a function in a parent component for single parent-to-child chain and when a parent needs control. Context API, on the other hand, can be better than callback props when you have deeply nested components and want to avoid prop drilling, and also where multiple components need to share the same state or logic. And with that, we wrap up another exercise. Could I ask, if you have not already done so, to please subscribe? If you have, thank you. Want more? I will see you in the next video for the next exercise.